All right, welcome to day 3 of our quarantine church home Bible study. We've been this week talking about why the Pharisees hated Jesus so much. So far, we've talked about because they had this theory that if you kill the leader of the movement, then it'll die out if it's not from God. And so they killed Jesus, but of course he raised from the dead. The movement continued. We're still talking about Jesus today, so they were wrong. The second reason they killed Jesus was the fulfillment of prophecy. Third, we're going to get into today is that Jesus threatened their political system, particularly their pocketbooks. Yeah, they were making money off of their faith, off of the religion, and people's practice thereof. And if Jesus was the Messiah and came to put an end to all of that, that's going to cost them some money. So we're going to look at that today. Turn in your Bibles to Mark chapter 11. Mark chapter 11, and we will talk about it. Okay, before we read from Mark chapter 11, this might sound familiar if you've been studying the book of John with us, because in John chapter 2, it tells a very similar story. Let me just clear it up. This actually happens twice, okay? The story we're going to read today happens twice. Jesus does it once at the beginning of his ministry. What the story is the cleansing of the temple. He does it towards the beginning of his ministry, and then about 3 years later, he has to do it again because they're still up to the old corrupt practices. They don't learn their lesson. So here we are, the second time Jesus cleanses the temple, and this is during his last week before he's crucified, okay? So here we are, Mark 11, verse 15. On reaching Jerusalem, Jesus entered the temple area and began driving out those who were buying and selling there. He overturned the tables and the money changers and the benches of those who were selling doves, and would not allow anyone to carry merchandise through the temple courts. As he taught them, he said, Is it not written, my house has been called a house of prayer for all nations? Are we okay? But you have made it a den of robbers. The chief priests and the teachers of the law heard this and began looking for a way to kill him, for they feared him because the whole crowd was amazed at his teaching. When evening came, they went out of the city. Okay, we see that they wanted to kill him, and why? All right, so I believe, like I said, this is the second time Jesus clears the temple. That's just what I believe. I believe this happens twice. They don't learn their lesson, and he has to clear the temple twice. Jesus reaches Jerusalem, and he drives out the money changers. Okay, he drives out the money changers, the people who are buying and selling. He overturns tables, and he doesn't allow no merchandise. I'm just going to abbreviate that no merch. He doesn't allow any merchandise to go in through the temple courts. This is merchandise, okay? Basically, what they were doing is they were cheating people. They were stealing from people. They were defrauding people, okay? They were trying to buy and sell animals for the sacrificial process, but these animals were at a huge upcharge. Whenever people came in, they could only buy and sell using temple currency, and they would rip them off with exchange rate. They would sometimes even possibly sell animals that weren't actually unblemished, but they would say that they were, and they were just cheating people, okay? Totally taking advantage of people. This was all a money-making scheme for the Pharisees, okay? It was all about the money, and that's why he says, Jesus' vision, okay? So Jesus' vision, he wanted it to be about prayer. Let me fix this, because this is actually the Pharisee side. The Pharisees were thieves. They all were about the money. He said, I want this to be a house of prayer for all nations, but you've turned it into a house of robbers. Okay, so they were taking advantage of people. They were stealing from people. They were making some serious dough stealing from the people. And all these people wanted to do is just genuine, honest worshipers. They wanted to come and connect and commune with God. They wanted to worship. They wanted to just spend time with Him. This time here in Mark, it's happening during the time around the Passover. So there's a huge influx of attendance, and Jerusalem is just packed with people. And the Pharisees see it as their opportunity to make some money, to take advantage of people. Okay, and so what it says, when they heard what was happening, they began looking for a way to kill Jesus. Why? Because they heard this happen. They began looking for a way to kill him because a couple things. One, fear. They feared him, and two, the crowd was following him. So there's two things. They feared Jesus. Okay, they knew he had power. It was obvious that he was doing amazing, miraculous things. Now we'll talk about this a little bit tomorrow. They believe this power does not come from God. Okay, they say it's demon possessed and that this power comes from the devil. But that's just what their theory is, their explanation for how Jesus can do the things he does. So they're afraid of him because they believe he is demon-possessed and has power of Satan working with him. And second, they're afraid that the crowd is starting to follow Jesus. The crowd was amazed at his teaching. So this is why they decide to kill him. They recognize change is coming. People are starting to follow Jesus, that he is powerful, and that this might be threaten this illegal, corrupt, abusive financial practice that they had begun. So that's another one of the reasons why the Pharisees hated Jesus, is he was going to change things, and they were about to lose some of the financial gain that they had for all of these centuries by being in leadership. They were taking advantage of the people, and Jesus was threatening to take that all away, all that power, that money, the authority, and the things that come with it. Okay. Tomorrow, like I said, we're going to talk a little bit about another reason why they hated Jesus. They genuinely thought he was demon-possessed. Okay, they thought that's where he got the power to do the things that he did. So we'll talk about that tomorrow. See you then.